You're watching the Flourishing Introvert Show. If you're an introvert with more to offer and are looking for ways to play to your strengths authentically, you're in the right place. With up to 50% of any population identifying as an introvert, if you're not one, you'll know one, but you may not understand what makes them tick. Watching this show will help you to build that understanding and consequently build better business and personal relationships. Many people don't find out until their mid-years that what makes them different is their introversion. So this show is also for you if you're curious about becoming the best version of yourself. Let's get started. Hello and welcome. Come on in and join me. Make yourself comfortable for the next short while I mark an important milestone actually for you and for me in whatever we're doing here in this journey I call life. And in order to mark this milestone, I'll be taking a trip down memory lane and sharing what's next on my flourishing journey. For those of you who've not met me before, I'm Joanna Rawbone, the founder of Flourishing Introverts. And I imagine a world where people own their introversion with confidence, with pride, and with a lived experience of equity. And we're a long way from that right now. I work with introverts who want to reach more of their potential. And I'm a bit of a disruptor who rattles the cages of organisations and educational establishments to highlight and shake out the extroversion bias that's usually hiding in plain sight. But we all need to think about what's next. And quite often, it's all too easy to forget how far we've come. And sometimes I certainly forget how far I've come. So allow me, please, a brief spell of nostalgic reflection. 5 years ago to this very month, actually, I submitted an application to be a TEDx speaker. And I had to include a 2-minute video explaining why my idea was worth sharing. You know the strapline with TED Talks, an idea worth sharing. So I had to create this 2-minute video. I hated every bit of those 2 minutes because it wasn't 2 minutes. I probably had to about 6 takes to get at least one passable 2-minute version. You can hear Gladys, my inner critic, is never far from my self-reviews, can't you? However, I said, it's amazing how far I've come. My TEDx talk, Shifting the Extroversion Bias to Unlock the Potential of Introverts, was recorded in front of a live audience in June of 2019 and released on the TED YouTube channel in September. I got really excited because we all got together for the live launch, everyone who had spoken on that particular day. And we got excited because 2 or 3 of our cohort's talks went viral. Alas, not mine. And I'm okay with that. You know, I understand that poo transplants hold a lot more fascination than shifting bias. Anyway, 4 years ago, next month, I recognized that I wanted a regular way of providing value to my introverted audience. The TEDx talk was a great start, but it was just a moment in time, really. So 4 years ago next month, I recorded the first episode of the Flourishing Introvert Talks. And so my podcasting journey began. Now, if you think watching yourself on video is tough, so is listening to my own voice. So again, Gladys wasn't far away in the background telling me that my voice was too boring, that it wasn't interesting, that it wouldn't be taking people on journey, blah, blah, blah. You can imagine, can't you? Anyway, every week so far for 206 episodes, I've shared something of myself and my journey with the public at large. If you're not subscribed yet, please do, and review an episode or 2, as it does help other introverts find the support that they need. My intention with the podcast was to really help introverts who were ready to begin or continue their flourishing journey, and to help managers looking to access the potential of the introverts in their team, and or help loved ones to understand an introvert in their life better so that their relationships improved. And over 53,000 downloads later, I think it is meeting a need. Then 2 years ago, so we're moving closer to where I am now, I bit the proverbial bullet and joined this Win-Win Women Network to host a weekly show live on camera. That certainly expanded my comfort zone. My intention with these shows was always to share real, inspirational and pragmatic stories, including how to overcome the extroversion bias for yourself and for others, how to prevent the slide from overwhelm into introvert hangover and then into burnout, how to install and maintain boundaries, something that is essential for us as introverts, how to own and play to our introvert strengths, and how to step into our quiet power. What you may not have known, I suppose, back then is just how much I was growing as I was sharing live with all of you on these shows. When I think back to how scared and nervous I was creating that 2-minute video for a TEDx, and I've now shown up live for around 30 minutes for nigh on 100 shows. Personal growth, tick. Professional growth, tick. Confidence, tick. I think it's fair to say that through this show, my comfort zone has expanded beyond recognition. And if you've been watching for some time, I bet you've noticed that too. I've certainly noticed it in myself. During those shows, you'll have seen me talking about my own boundaries or lack of them. You'll have seen me talking about the drivers of personal change and the only thing other than death that's guaranteed in life, frankly. You'll have heard me talking about the quiet art of letting go, very powerful, and how life's natural cycle can guide us. Which brings me to this point in time, I guess, where I'm considering all of the work going on underground so that the plants can flourish come the spring. We often think about this time of year as everything's dormant. It's not really, there's stuff going on underneath. And I think it may have been this that seeded into my very being during these long, dark days of winter, and brought forth the word rise as my word for 2024. I've been choosing a word or a collection of words for a number of years now, and through the work I've done with Maria Beck over time, I've allowed the word to emerge rather than struggling to think about what it had to be. And so rise was the word that emerged for this year. I shared a little of what it meant to me in yesterday's Flourishing Nudge newsletter on LinkedIn. What I talked about in that is that it's time we change the narrative of introverts being held back by the misguided who think that extroversion is preferable. And it's time for introverts to stop holding themselves back because they're not yet able to own the gift that is their introversion. Notice the yet, because the yet is important. So how do we change that narrative? Well, through rising. And it may not be an uprising in the revolutionary kind of way, because that's not our style as introverts. But it will be a powerful and intention-laden rising. Because this is about rising above the outdated, biased strictures that so many organizations were built around. It's about rising beyond people's expectations to reach our potential and truly flourish. It's about rising through the negativity, ours and other people's, in the same way that the sun, as it rises, burns off the clouds. Too many clients have told me that they're frustrated on an almost daily basis by being undervalued and overlooked. Sadly, this is part of the entrenched extroversion bias. But if I look to others to remove my frustrations, I'm giving away my power. The only person who can rid me of my frustrations is me. If I'm being overlooked, I need to find ways to become visible that are not those in-your-face, loud, icky ways. If I'm being undervalued, I need first to value myself and then find the words to articulate my value to others. If I constantly feel put upon, I need to strengthen my boundaries or put them in place if they're missing in the first place. I do love Tony Gaskin's quote and share it often when I'm talking about boundaries. He said, "We teach people how to treat us by what we allow, what we stop, and what we reinforce." But we don't need to treat this like a one man or a one woman or a one person mission, come to that. Do you know how many allies you have out there in the world? Do you know how many you have in your immediate network? Because remember, introversion is not about completely isolating yourself. It's about having people around you that actually understand you, that don't drain you. The reality is the world is waking up to the importance of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And we introverts already account for about 50% of any population. So we're far from a minority. So one of the things I encourage you to do is to intentionally build your network of allies, those people who empower us to be our best selves, who value our difference and advocate for us when our mental and emotional and social batteries are spent. I know there are allies who care deeply, and some watch this show or listen to my podcast. They support my comments and posts on social media, and I'm so grateful that they have my back. And it's not just the allies who have my back these days. I'm so fortunate to have a brilliant team located on several continents who intentionally challenge me to grow further, to reach higher, and to impact deeper. And what works so beautifully is that they encourage me to be more visible in my own calm, quiet, yet confident way. So yes, I'm more out there and visible on social media, and I'm delighted to say that it's aligned with who I am and what I intend to do. We all know I need to be visible and something of a disruptor if I'm going to succeed in my mission. And of course, my mission is about shifting the bias and empowering introverts to flourish without pretending. It's about enabling businesses, education, and societies to become inclusive places where we all know that we belong. And my mission has to have global reach too. And none of that happens overnight or by accident. It happens intentionally, which is why I'm part of an exciting collaboration called Intent to Flourish, the marriage of two aligned brands. That's something I would have shied away from in the past, but it's fair to say that I'm so much braver now. And realizing the benefit of being incrementally braver, I've decided to offer a Becoming Braver adventure to fellow introverts starting on January the 22nd. Over 4 consecutive days, you'll get prompts and nudges to do things that might have seemed out of the question last year. Heck, maybe even out of the question last week. The adventure concludes on February the 5th with a Becoming Braver masterclass to pull it all together. And I suggest you join the waitlist as there's no charge, so you've really got nothing to lose and everything to gain. This Becoming Braver adventure is the precursor to the opening of the powerful new Frustrated to Flourishing program. The link to get on the wait list and to find out more will be on the slide that I'll show at the end of this show. But it's really very simple. It's frustratedtoflourishing.com. Couldn't be easier, could it? So if you've decided that 2024 is the year that you finally take control of your life or your career, join me to open yourself up to a life of authentic flourishing so that you can finally leave your frustrations where they belong, in the past. And talking about leaving things in the past and letting go, it's time for me to say goodbye to this win-win portion of my journey in order to make space for the next exciting leg of my business travels. So I wish you all a good night and a flourishing life. Thank you so much for joining me on however many shows it's been. Up on the screen now is that link to join the waitlist, frustratedtoflourishing.com. And if you want to know more about Becoming Braver, just drop me an email to joanna@flourishingintroverts.com. And as ever, you can still find me on all social media platforms, Flourishing @flourishingintroverts. So thank you for being part of this leg of my journey. And I really look forward to you joining me on future legs. Thank you.